It's the summer of Seagal. Let's talk about Fire Down Below. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there. And today we're going to take a hard left turn away from Scream territory and back to a Steven Seagal film. I haven't done a Steven Seagal film in quite some time, and today we're going to talk about Fire Down Below. This film came out September 5th of 1997. I saw this in the theaters at early fall. It's rated R. It's an hour and 45 minutes long. Had a budget of $60 million. Holy shit. And upon release, it only made 16.2 in America and 24.5 worldwide. This is the film that caused Steven Seagal's contract with Warner Brothers. He had a multi-picture deal with Warner Brothers at the time, and this caused him to lose that contract, although he did come back in 2001 and work with them one last time on Exit Wounds, which was his last profitable film. And that was his only profitable film since Under Siege 2, although you could say executive decision, but he wasn't the star of that film. Kurt Russell was. This is Seagal coming off of, now in the early 90s, to go back a little bit, Seagal was coming off of a high. He had Marked for Death in 90 that was a hit. He had Out for Justice, which was a hit. He had Under Siege, which was a huge hit for him. And coming off of that, he directed his first film, On Deadly Ground, which I do like. The action sequence in that film, I don't think, plot-wise, it's not a great film. But I do like that film enough. I'll review that eventually, because the only films I haven't reviewed that went theatrical for Seagal are Above the Law, On Deadly Ground, and Exit Wounds. I will do all of those eventually. The direct-to-video shit I'm not going to touch because it's mostly garbage. I've seen some of them. They're absolutely trash. But Seagal, after Under Siege, he directed On Deadly Ground, which was a huge flop with a big budget. And then he did Under Siege 2 in 95, which was a hit. And then in 96, he had Executive Decision and The Glimmer Man. Now, Executive Decision, again, he wasn't the star. Kurt Russell was. And The Glimmer Man bombed upon release. Although I do like that film. I think it's a fun action film. And Warner Brothers at the time, well, we'll get into that. Steven Seagal's back playing Jack Taggart, an EPA agent. Chris Christopherson is playing Orrin. He owns this casino. He has a lot of money, and he's dumping toxic waste into mines in this little Kentucky town. Stephen Lang, the great Stephen Lang's in this film, is Earl. Marge Helgenberger plays Sarah. She plays a love interest for Steven Seagal's character. And the great Harry Dean Stanton plays Cotton. And he is the reason why Steven Seagal's character goes to this little town in Kentucky. And he did actually shoot some of this film in Kentucky, which is kind of cool when they do actually shoot it in a location that it supposedly takes place in. And at the beginning of the film, we get a montage of Seagal's character talking to his partner, and his partner gets killed, chased through the woods and gets killed. He finds out, his boss sends him in because they think Orrin is dumping toxic waste in the mines, but nobody can catch him, and they always get fouled up. Either the investigation goes nowhere, or the agent is disappearing or found dead. And that's what happened with his partner. So Seagal goes, or Jack Taggart goes to this little town, and he gets set up in this with his priest at this little Baptist church, and he kind of stays in this little cottage that's connected to the church. And he pretends to be like somebody that's coming to help people fix their porches or fix their roofs, just do little odd jobs for people's homes that are run down. This takes place in Appalachia. And there's a lot of homes that need a lot of work. So that's how he gets to know some of the people, try to find out what exactly is going on here. And it doesn't take long for word to get out that he's there, because there's a mole in the EPA office. And Orrin's son, who runs the town, although he's a complete D-bag and doesn't know his ass from his elbow, him and his goons start messing with Jack Taggart. So we get action scene after action scene, a love interest with Sarah, Marge Helgenberger's character. And the plot thickens as we go along. Her brother gets reintroduced. He was gone. He comes back. He sets Jack Taggart up to get killed in the mines, although it's a Seagal movie, so he kills all the guys and makes it out of the mine before it blows up. And then finally, we get Seagal kicking more locals' asses before he goes and takes out Orrin at his casino, and that's the end of Fire Down Below. Now, a lot like On Deadly Ground, this has an environmental message, but they dwell on it just a little bit. It's not as preachy as On Deadly Ground. On Deadly Ground, especially at the end, gets really preachy. This one, they bring the stakes up, and it's part of the story, but they're not punching you in the face with it, which I appreciate in an R-rated action film, because we're here basically to see Seagal kick ass, and he does in this film. There's some good action scenes, for sure. The story is fine. I like the idea of him going into this little town that's having this problem where they're dumping toxic waste in these mine shafts, and the water's getting poisoned. I don't mind any of that stuff, and Seagal snooping around this little town is fine. Now, where some of the problems lie in this film, now I do enjoy this film. You can sit down and have a good enough time with it. It's only an hour and 45 minutes long, and the action's pretty well shot. But a lot like Steven Seagal's other films, like The Glimmer Man, even Under Siege 2, and some of his other films, it was cut down drastically by Warner Brothers. There's big action set pieces that were cut out of this film that were filmed. I mean, this was a $60 million budget film. In '96, when they shot this, that was a huge amount of money. That was like blockbuster type money for some films. And they actually cut out big action set pieces out of the film to shorten the runtime. And they cut out some plot as well. And you can tell the movie gets a little choppy in parts, like all of a sudden there's an action sequence out of nowhere. Like the truck sequence. There's no build up to it. Seagal's all of a sudden, Jack Taggart's driving down the road in his pickup truck, and his big ass semi truck comes up behind him, and we have a chase scene. And it comes out of nowhere. There's no build up to it. It just happens. So you could tell that Warner Brothers definitely chopped the shit out of this film. I'm sure some of the action set pieces that were cut would have been cool to see. I mean, they spent the money. I don't know why you would cut stuff that you spent the money on unless they were badly filmed or didn't work. But that doesn't say that online. Just as they cut some big action set pieces out. But overall, you can have a good time with this. This is a Steven Seagal movie later in his career, after his career was on its downhill slope. Obviously, he had some flops in a row. And I'm surprised Warner Brothers gave this film that kind of money, considering his track record up until then. On Deadly Ground didn't make a lot of money. Under Siege 2 was profitable. It wasn't a hit. The first one was. The Glimmer Man bombed. Executive Decision was a hit, but it was a Kurt Russell film. It wasn't. Steven Seagal's only in it for, 5 minutes? Maybe 7? So I'm surprised Warner Brothers gave this kind of money to this film, especially with an untested director. But they did. They must have felt passionate about it. At first, though, this wasn't supposed to be a Steven Seagal movie. Actually, Bruce Willis was supposed to star in this film, but he turned it down. He was attached at one point, but then he walked away from it. Other than that, I don't think I have any other trivia for this. Still, at the end of the day, Fire Down Below is a serviceable enough R-rated action film. I have fun with it. I sit down and watch it from time to time. I would give it a 6.75 out of 10. It's definitely not Seagal's worst action film. That would be reserved for some of his direct-to-video films. God, they're bad. Awful. Absolute shit. Avoid them at all costs. They're absolute shit. The way they're directed. Oh. And Seagal can't move for shit. He's old. He's been overweight for years, and he's out of shape now. So he can't be doing any of the stuff he's doing. Even in this film, he does some things, it's a stunt double, because even by this point in his career, he was out of shape and he was bigger. He put weight on, and he couldn't move the way he moves in this film. But still, when he has fight scenes, they're pretty well shot and pretty well choreographed. So overall, you could have a good enough time with this film. So yes, 6.75 out of 10 for Fire Down Below. Have you ever seen this film? Leave a comment down below, let me know. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I greatly would appreciate that. Share this video, I'd also greatly appreciate that. I'll be back next week with some more reviews. Until then, I hope you all have a great weekend, and bye.